Tonight we are not just telling a story. We are stepping into a wound that still bleeds, hidden beneath vines, buried in silence, and forgotten by those who once counted its profits. You don't know it yet, but today, this single, scorching day, will echo through time. A whisper in the trees, a scar in the soil, a name carved on no monument. A rubber vine can choke a tree, but what if the tree is human? That's what they never asked. Because in the Congo Free State, questions cost too much, and answers, they were bought in severed hands. Now, close your eyes. Let time fold. Let memory dissolve. You're not in your room anymore, not on your bed. You're lying on damp jungle earth, the kind that never forgets the weight of footsteps or bodies. The year is 1896. The air presses against your lungs like wet cloth. You're somewhere deep in the forest of Central Africa, 1,000 miles from the nearest mercy. You don't know the exact place. That's by design. No maps mark the trail you're on. No compass cares where you go. You're not meant to be remembered. You are not a tourist. You are not an observer. You are a rubber porter, a worker by name, a hostage by truth. You open your eyes slowly. Sunlight pierces through the tangled canopy, not gentle, not golden, but cruel and high, like judgment. Your shirt is damp with last night's sweat. Your feet are raw. A heavy coiled rope sits beside you. Today's leash, or maybe tomorrow's. You'll find out soon enough. Somewhere nearby, someone is crying quietly. You don't look. That's rule 1. Don't draw attention to yourself. You sit up. Your back aches. Your arms are stiff from yesterday's carry. The load of raw rubber, sticky and black, clinging to your skin like guilt. You're not alone here. You are one of dozens, maybe hundreds, bound not by chains, but by silence and quotas. Each person here owes the state a tax, not in money, not in labor, but in rubber. You owe the king something. The king owes you nothing. And what they call a tax is a sentence. You glance down at your hands. They used to be strong. Now they are cracked, blistered, and swollen with sap burns. One of your fingers won't straighten properly. The vine acid did that. No medicine, no rest, just more vines. Around you the jungle sings with life and death. Insects swarm your skin, thirsty for sweat. A low buzzing follows your ears, always present, like a warning. A man nearby tries to stand, but his legs collapse. His guard notices. Crack. A whip slices the air. The sound doesn't surprise you anymore. It's as normal as birdsong, as predictable as sunrise. The man screams. He doesn't stand again. Nobody helps. Nobody dares. You look away. The commander approaches. Boots clean, mustache curled, eyes empty. He doesn't speak your language. He doesn't need to. He holds up 3 fingers. That's how much rubber you owe him by sunset. If you fail, you know what happens. You've seen what happens. You remember the boy from last week. He brought back half a load. The vines were too far that day. They cut off his hand. Then they made his brother carry it back to the station. Proof, they said. Proof of failure. There's a basket of hands somewhere. You've seen it. A ledger in flesh. They say it's about productivity, but you know it's about fear. Your stomach growls. You haven't eaten since yesterday's cassava, if you can call that food. There's no breakfast, no water yet, no sympathy, only the vines, and the quota, and the constant question gnawing at your bones. Will I be next? You rise to your feet. Your legs are unsteady, but they move. That's all they need to do. The guards gesture. You fall into the line, a slow, broken parade into the trees. You try not to look at the rifles. You try not to think of the girl who vanished last month, the one who spoke up. They said she ran. You know better. She screamed too long to be running. As you march, the forest thickens. The vines become your world, spiraling, twisting, choking everything they touch. They grow fast here, too fast, like the greed that fuels them. The rubber drips from their bark like blood. You'll scrape it, roll it, carry it, and if it's not enough, they'll say your limbs are worth more than your life. This is not just your job. This is your trap. Your village was taxed. Your wife was taken as collateral. Your child. You don't talk about your child, because to survive, you must forget softness. You must forget comfort. You must forget yourself. You stumble. The path is narrow, muddy, thorny. The man ahead of you collapses. Nobody helps. Again, no one dares. And you keep walking. Because in the Congo Free State, mercy is a luxury and fear is free. Tonight, when the sun dies behind the trees, you will still owe the king his weight in sap. And if you fail, you won't be punished. You'll be made an example, and examples. They never live to see the next sunrise. Welcome to the day. Welcome to the quota. Welcome to the cost of rubber. Let the day begin. Before your eyes even open, your nose is already under attack. It stings, not from smoke. No, that would be kindness. This is worse. The air smells like rotting leather and jungle sweat, like old blood on bark, like rubber sap fermenting in wooden bowls. A sharp, rubbery acid mixed with the stink of other people's pain and yours. You shift your head slightly. The mat beneath you isn't a mat. It's an old cloak, someone else's, still damp, still reeking. You slept in it last night, or rather, you didn't sleep. You passed out. You try to blink. Your eyes are crusted shut from smoke and sweat. Every muscle feels like it belongs to someone else. You don't move yet, because movement means you're awake, and being awake means they'll start yelling. A voice barks somewhere nearby. French? Maybe Swahili? You're not fluent in either, not the dialect they speak here, but you don't need words to know what they mean. Get up. Now move. You sit up slowly, like the earth itself is trying to hold you down, and that's when it hits you. Your skin is on fire. Every bite, every scratch, every blister, they all return at once, screaming together in chorus. You clutch your arms, finding a thick patch of raw red welts on your forearm. Yesterday's vines. You weren't careful enough. The rubber bled back on you. No one offered help. There was no salve, no cool water, just a look of annoyance from the officer. You finally force your eyes open. The world is still green, too green. It's not lush or magical. It's thick, oppressive, like the jungle is leaning in too close. Sunlight pours through gaps in the canopy like boiling water, and the air, gods, the air is heavy. You take a breath, shallow and quick. The humidity is a blanket soaked in sweat. Every inhale tastes like mold and iron. Every exhale comes with a rattle in your chest. You cough once, and it hurts. You're not sick yet, but you know what it sounds like when someone is. You heard it last night, that deep, wet sound in the dark. It didn't stop. Neither did the guard who kicked the man over and walked on. Around you, others stir. Not a camp, a cage without walls, just bodies, tools, quotas. Men hunched over, a few boys, not more than 13. One is already missing a hand. He wraps the stump quietly in cloth and never makes a sound. You've learned not to ask. Someone groans beside you. An older man tries to rise. His leg is badly swollen, an infected thorn wound. He wobbles once, then crumples forward. A guard notices. You freeze. You look down. Pretend to check your bag. Breathe slowly. Don't move. Don't speak. Don't look. You know what happens next. Crack. The whip strikes his back once, then again. Not for disobedience, for weakness. Weakness here is contagious and punishable. The man doesn't scream. He's too used to it, or too far gone. You stare at your hands again. You do that a lot these days. The knuckles are split, the palms sticky, fingers swollen from constant scraping. You'll be using them all day again to peel bark, collect latex, coil rubber. If you're lucky. If you're not, you'll be carrying someone else's load, or worse, returning with not enough. Surprise. Historical fact. You never imagined that the price of not meeting a rubber quota could be your hand or your child's, but now you know. You've seen it. You've heard the stories too. Entire villages burned for missing quotas, children tied to poles, women whipped in front of their husbands, men forced to cut the hands off their friends to avoid their own punishment. This isn't colonialism. This is calculated cruelty. A factory of fear disguised as a kingdom. The sun is climbing now. Already the air shimmers with heat. Already the insects are back, buzzing, biting, burrowing. You slap at one. Too late. You know the fever will come eventually. Everyone gets it. Yellow eyes, shaking skin, a cold sweat even in the heat. Some survive, some don't. The guards don't care. There are always more workers to replace the ones who fall. A shout. The guards begin moving people, herding them into narrow jungle paths. Today the order is clear. Vine harvest. That means hours of walking, scraping, boiling, shaping. You'll carry whatever you collect on your back. If you drop it, you'll carry it with lashes instead. You don't eat until you return. You don't rest unless you collapse. And if you return with less than your quota, well, the boy with the stump is proof of that. You rise to your feet, legs trembling. The load from yesterday still clings to your back, both literal and spiritual. You glance toward the tree line. Beyond it is the path to the rubber groves. The vines grow wild there, twisting through trees like snakes. Some vines are as thick as your wrist. Some are thin as string, but more dangerous because they snap. And when they snap, they slice. And when you bleed, you're told to hurry up, not heal. One of the guards waves a rifle lazily toward the forest. You nod, you move, not because you agree, but because you've learned the math of survival. A pause equals a shout. A mistake equals a blow. A delay equals a debt. Your feet hit the dirt trail. You join the column. No one speaks. Why would they? Speech wastes breath, and breath is a luxury in this jungle. The vines don't care about your pain. The trees don't listen. The king doesn't know your name. And the officer in charge, he knows it. He just refuses to say it. Because if you have a name, you might also have a soul. So you walk into the vines, into the sap, into the system that runs not on steam or coal, but on bones. And all the while the jungle watches, silent, still, like it remembers every footstep, every hand severed, every lie told in the name of progress. And now you're here, alive, breathing, burning. But for how long? That depends. Not on your strength, not on your cleverness, but on your silence, your obedience, your ability to vanish inside yourself until the quota is met, until the whip rests, until the sap boils, until the sun dies again. This is your first full day. Let's see if you survive it. Your first task today is simple. Stay alive long enough to reach midday. That's the only real victory. Not freedom, not progress, not even hope. Just enough breath to see the next hour. You walk through mud that pulls at your ankles, through thickets that slice your skin like paper, through branches that bend like whips. Your eyes sting from the sap. Your arms are heavy. You've barely taken 50 steps, and already your body wants to fall. The guards say nothing. They don't have to. Their rifles speak for them. Their eyes, cold, tired, indifferent, remind you, you are not a man. You are a body in motion. Fall, and you are a delay. Speak, and you are a problem. Refuse, and you are a warning to others. The man behind you is wheezing. You don't look back, but you know the sound. That rasp, shallow and wet. It means his lungs are filling. He won't last the week. No one will say it. No one will offer him rest. Even he doesn't ask. Because here, no one expects to live long enough for mercy to matter. The jungle thickens. The trees stretch high above you, clawing at the sky. The vines wrap around their trunks, pulsing with white sap. You hate them. These vines that bleed wealth, not for you, not for your village, not for your family, for Belgium, for the king who's never stepped foot on this soil, but claims it like he owns your breath. You arrive at the grove. The guard points, not with his hand, but with the butt of his rifle. You know what to do. You find a tree, not too young, not too dry. You cut into it with a dull knife, slicing carefully. You don't want to waste the sap. You can't afford to waste anything. It drips slow, like blood from an old wound. You hold a bowl beneath it. You wait and wait and wait, because collecting rubber isn't hard. It's endless. Time melts into the heat, into the buzzing of flies, into the whisper of boots on wet leaves. Your hands shake, not from fear, not yet, from hunger. You haven't eaten since yesterday. That cassava, boiled without salt, barely peeled, sits like a stone in your stomach. There is no breakfast. There is no break. And the water? You glance at the filthy tin cup hanging from your hip. The stream nearby is dark, still, home to things that move without warning. You drink anyway. You have to, even knowing it might kill you slowly later. What if they notice I don't belong here? You've thought it before. You're thinking it again. You imagine yourself stepping away, running. But where? The jungle is endless. The guards are faster. And escape? Escape means retribution. They won't just punish you. They'll punish everyone you've ever known. They'll burn your village, take your sister, take your child. You've seen it. You know. So you stay. Even when every part of you wants to scream. You move to the next tree, then the next. The vine scratches your arms. The knife slips once, a deep cut along your palm. You clench your jaw. You don't cry out. You just wrap the wound in a strip of cloth and keep going, because the pain is less than the punishment. Around you, others work silently. A boy of 12 balances a bucket full of rubber on his back. It's twice his size. He stumbles. The load sloshes. A guard raises his hand, but the boy catches it just in time. You feel your breath release, not even realizing you'd held it, because one spill can mean one lash or one hand. By mid-morning, your legs are shaking. Your back is slick with sweat. Your shirt, if you can call it that, is stuck to your skin. The air smells like burnt sap and sickness. Flies won't leave your wounds alone. You swat, they return. Your bowl fills slowly, too slowly. You calculate, this is your third tree. You need at least 9 more, maybe 12, to reach today's quota. And you're already late. You pause for a moment, just one breath. And in that pause, the thoughts creep in. What if I drop the bowl? What if I collapse? What if they see me stop? You try to silence the voice, but it speaks louder. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe the gods made a mistake. Maybe this is all some divine punishment for being born in a land full of gold, rubber, and rivers. But not enough guns to defend it. You look up. A guard is watching you. You move again, quickly, not too fast. Too fast looks suspicious. Too slow looks lazy. You've learned the rhythm of survival. Move like you've always moved. Breathe like nothing hurts. Smile like you're not broken, even when your soul is peeling like tree bark. You remember your wife's hands, the way she tied bundles of cassava, the way she braided your daughter's hair. You wonder where they are now. Did the officer keep his word? Did he release them when you agreed to work? You don't know. No letters, no messages, only orders, only quotas, only silence. The tree in front of you has stopped bleeding. You move to another. The knife in your hand feels heavier than it did this morning. You wonder if you'll drop it, if your fingers will cramp, if someone will notice. You whisper a prayer, to no God in particular, just to be allowed to keep going. Your knees ache, your feet burn, your stomach roars. But still, you move, because the only thing worse than dying here is dying without meeting the quota. You don't know what time it is. The sun doesn't tell stories here. It just burns. There is no bell to mark the hour, only your limbs, and they are screaming. But you keep scraping, keep boiling, keep shaping the sticky black mass in your hands. Because this is survival now, not justice, not resistance, not dignity, just survival. By the time midday finally comes, you have 7 trees worth of rubber. It's not enough, but it's something. And here, something can mean the difference between a breath and a bullet. You whisper to yourself again, a phrase you've started saying every hour. Just get to nightfall. That's the game. That's the rule. Get to nightfall. Then maybe, just maybe, you'll get to try again tomorrow. There's no room for weakness in this world, but there is room for something else, something older than the king, older than whips, older than death, belief. Because when your body is no longer your own, when your name has been scraped away by bark and blood and silence, you cling to your gods, even if you're not sure they still listen. It's late afternoon now. You've returned from the grove, back to the edge of the camp. The rubber is weighed. Your arms are shaking. You don't know yet if the load is enough. But for now, they've let you rest. Not out of kindness, out of calculation. A tired worker is a slow worker. A dead one is slower. You sit beneath a crooked tree. Its roots curve up like ribs. Its bark is dark, cracked, and oozing, but familiar. You reach into your shirt. Hidden beneath the torn fabric, tied tightly to your skin, is the only thing they haven't taken from you. A small bundle of cloth. You untie it carefully, like unwrapping something sacred. Inside, a carved piece of bone, your father's, once worn on his wrist. A dried cola nut, now black and shriveled, and a scrap of charcoal ink, marked with a name you're not allowed to say aloud anymore. Not here, not in front of them, because they laugh at belief. They mock the spirits. They mock the drums, the fire, the silence between prayers. But they don't understand what you know deep in your chest. The body can break. The soul only disappears if you forget it. You place the bone on the ground. You draw a symbol in the dirt, the shape of protection. Your mother taught it to you. She said it hides you from evil, even the kind that wears polished boots. You whisper to the wind, not in French, not in the trade pigeon, in your own tongue. 3 syllables, software shaky. A prayer not to be saved, but to be remembered. Someone sits beside you. You don't look at them. That's the rule, even in ritual. Silence first. But you recognize the rhythm of his breath. It's the old man with the swollen leg, the one who collapsed this morning. You thought he'd been taken away. You thought he was gone. But now he's here, murmuring in his throat. A chant, a hum, a lullaby for the invisible. You join him, softly, not in harmony, in memory. It's not a song, it's a boundary between who you are and who they want you to become. A few others gather near the tree. No words are exchanged, just nods. This is not a church. This is not a sermon. This is resistance that doesn't speak its name. You rub the cola nut between your palms, then place a pinch of dust at the tree's base. Not much, just enough. You whisper again. You are not just a servant. You are the offering. That's what your grandfather said once, back when the village had a drum tower, back when the missionaries hadn't burned the masks, back when your name meant something beyond a number on a ledger. You glance at the camp. Guards walk by slowly, uninterested. They think you're resting. They think you're harmless. They don't know that every ritual you perform rewrites their lie, because they call you primitive. But they forget something. They needed guns to conquer you. You only needed stories to survive. The man beside you begins to cough, hard. You place a hand on his shoulder. He nods once. He taps the ground twice, a signal. If I die tonight, speak my name, even once. Let it echo. You will. You won't forget. The sun lowers, painting the forest in gold, but there is no warmth in it, only warning, because night brings things even the officers don't understand. The jungle at night whispers back. Sometimes it moans, sometimes it screams. There are stories of soldiers disappearing without a trace, of ivory caravans never arriving, of whips found snapped in the morning, near bowls of untouched rubber, and always the smell of cola nut, always the mark of the old gods. They tried to crush your spirit, to flatten it beneath the boots and tax ledgers and steamships. But here, in this fading hour, your spirit burns quietly beneath the dirt. You finish the ritual. You fold the cloth again, tie it beneath your shirt. No one claps. No one sings. This belief is not about sound. It's about silence that protects you. It's about fire that no rain can reach. Someone lights a small fire near the supply tent. It's not for warmth. It's to boil tools. The smoke curls toward the tree, and you swear for a moment you see her, your mother, standing in the smoke, not smiling, not speaking, just watching. You don't blink. Because even if it's not her, the gods are watching, and so you stand. You brush the dirt from your knees, pick up the bundle, slip the bone back into your shirt. The old man nods again. He stays sitting. He won't rise again tonight, maybe ever. But he is smiling now, because someone remembered. Someone lit the ember again. The others disperse, slowly, without talking, without looking back. They go to their mats, to their tasks, to their waiting, but you feel something in your chest that wasn't there this morning. Not hope, something stronger, meaning. The guards call for evening check. You fall in line, like always, but something's different now. You're still afraid, still exhausted. But beneath it all, you carry something they'll never touch. A name, a prayer, a fire, thematic repetition anchor. You are not just a servant. You are the offering. And tonight, that offering is your memory. your defiance, your sacred breath, unbroken. There is no law here, not the kind you can appeal to, not the kind that protects, not the kind with balance, justice, or mercy. There is only power, and power here is simple. He who holds the rifle decides who breathes. The morning begins with boots, polished, heavy, out of place. They crunch the earth like it offends them, like the jungle should know better than to grow wild beneath their feet. You don't look up yet, but you already know what this means. The governor has arrived, not the king. No, he's thousands of miles away, eating fresh fruit from silver bowls. But this man, the governor, he acts like a king, riding high on a horse brought from Europe, carrying a whip, though his hands are smooth, dressed in cream-colored linen, spotless, as if mud fears him. He passes by slowly, and no one dares breathe. You lower your eyes to the ground, because if he catches you watching, even by accident, even a glance, it could be your last. The man beside you whispers without moving his lips. Don't think, don't blink, don't exist. You obey. He rides past rows of workers, thin, quiet, broken. Some wear scraps of uniform. Most wear rags. A few boys hold out their bowls of rubber, arms shaking. The governor doesn't stop, doesn't speak. He simply nods to his officers. That nod is law, and the law means this: no quota, no hand. They carry out the orders, like clerks, like butchers, like this is all normal. A scream echoes behind you, then silence. No one flinches, no one cries, because you're not allowed to mourn the system. You're only allowed to survive it. You glance at the officer's tent. Outside it stands a chalkboard. On it, numbers, tons of rubber, names of villages, casualty counts, written in the same hand as harvest totals. It's all the same ledger. Rubber in, blood out. You shift your weight. Your ankle throbs from yesterday, but you don't limp, because to show pain is to invite attention, and attention is lethal. Someone shouts in French. An officer approaches the line. He walks past each man, staring, not at your faces, at your shoulders, at your hands, at your backs, looking for weakness, looking for excuses. He pauses at a boy, maybe 15. His eyes are too red, his arms too thin. The officer points. The boy doesn't move, so the officer strikes him once with the flat of his hand. The boy falls. The officer doesn't even stop walking. The boy is left behind. No one helps. That's the hierarchy. And where are you in it? You know, you are near the bottom, below the rifle, below the clerk, below the vines. Only one thing lies beneath you: the grave. Sometimes you wonder, who are these men who do this? Were they born cruel, or made cruel by uniforms? But you never ask aloud. Questions here are dangerous, just like dreams. You glance toward the guard tower. A flag flutters above it, red, white, and black. The star in the middle once meant light, guidance, hope. Now it means something else. We are watching. We are counting. You are property. Centuries from now, historians will wonder what his name even meant. That's what they'll say about the governor, about his officers, about the system. They'll argue in quiet classrooms, holding documents and maps. But here, today, he decides who eats, who drinks, who gets to live without a scar. And you're too busy surviving to write history. Sometimes late at night, you hear them laugh inside their tents, with music playing from phonographs, drinking gin from glass bottles. You once saw them burn a village, then toast over it. They called it pacification. You called it a funeral for memory. One afternoon, the officer asked your name. You told him. He laughed, said it was too long, too strange. He renamed you numero 6. Now that's all you are on the records. Not a man, not a father, not a son, just a digit. A placeholder in an empire of rubber and ink. Sometimes the other workers whisper stories about men who ran, men who hid, men who found old villages deep in the trees where the king's reach fades. You don't believe it, not really, but you still listen, because belief is sometimes the only law you have. You once knew a teacher long before all this. He taught boys under a mango tree. He used to say, "Law without justice is just math with knives." You never forgot that. Even now, as the jungle closes in, as the quotas rise, as the bodies disappear, you remember those words. Because here, the rules change daily. But the knives stay sharp. The governor leaves. The dust settles. You exhale for the first time in what feels like hours. But you don't relax, because the absence of power does not mean the return of peace. It only means a shift in weight. The vines still wait. The officers still watch. The guns still gleam. And you? You carry the same question in your chest. Will anyone remember who we were? Because history forgets the names of slaves. It remembers the names of kings. But you don't need books to know the truth. You just need your scars. Past-future layering. One day, someone will look at a photo of this jungle and ask, "Why did no one speak?" And the answer will be, "They did. They bled it into the ground." You go back to work, not because you want to, because that's the only rule that matters here. Obey or disappear. You haven't spoken all day. There's no one to speak to. Even if you tried, your voice would crack like old bark, dry, splintered, unnecessary. So you stay quiet, because here, words are dangerous. They lead to attention, and attention leads to pain. In your hands, the same tool, the same weight. A long, dull-bladed knife, good for slicing vines, bad for cutting through despair. You carve rubber from the tree like you're carving yourself out of existence. Each cut takes more than bark. It scrapes memory. You can't remember what your brother's voice sounded like. Can't recall your daughter's last laugh. Even the name of your village, the one that echoed through the valley when you were young, fades like smoke. You dip the fresh-cut rubber in a pot of boiling liquid. The smell rises up, hot, acidic, unnatural. You breathe it in anyway, because you're too tired to flinch, too hollow to resist. The man next to you stirs the mix without looking up. His shirt is burned through in 2 places. You can see the skin beneath, blistered. But he doesn't make a sound, not because it doesn't hurt, because hurting is the only constant left. The sun moves slowly overhead, but your mind doesn't follow. You're stuck in a loop. Carve, diploma, stir, lift, count. Not just the rubber. Count the steps, count the breath, count the days. You think it's been 13, or maybe 20, or maybe none at all. Your legs shake, but you don't stop. Stopping draws attention, and attention is the only thing worse than pain. Your stomach is twisted into knots, not hunger anymore, just absence. You were once proud. You remember that, vaguely. You helped plant maize on the ridges near the river. You knew the names of every tree in your forest. You carved drums that spoke across valleys. Now, you can't even feel your own name in your mouth. Maybe I'm not meant for this. You think it, but deeper this time, like a stone dropped into a well, like a thought that's been growing roots in the dark. Maybe you were not made for this world. Maybe you were a mistake, an accident of birth, a soul placed in the wrong century. You look at your hands. They're no longer yours. They belong to the rubber now, to the vines, to the quota. to the king. Maybe the gods made a mistake. Maybe they blinked. Maybe they looked away when your soul passed through the door. And now you're here, in a jungle that listens but doesn't care, among men who suffer but don't cry, in a world that crushes without warning. The pot overflows. You don't notice. A guard shouts. The man beside you grabs your arm and yanks you back just in time. You nod in thanks, but he's already looking away. No friendships here, just transactions of survival. You stumble to the edge of the camp during rest. You don't sit, just lean against a tree, heart pounding, breath shallow. You watch the sun bleed through the leaves, and for a moment, you feel it, the weight, not of your limbs, of your absence. You are still here, but you're not. You close your eyes, and you try to remember something, anything from before this. Your mother's cooking, your sister's song. All that comes back is mud and numbers. The number of pounds you must deliver, the number of lashes for falling short, the number of people taken from your village. You open your eyes, and for a split second you don't recognize your own skin. It's cracked, bleeding, covered in soot and sap. You reach out and touch your chest, feel your own heartbeat. It's slow, too slow, or maybe just quiet. Someone nearby collapses. No one reacts. The guards don't flinch. The workers don't pause. Because here, death is a background sound. Like birds, like flies, like breath. You whisper something. Not a prayer, not a curse, just a sound. Your voice startles you. It's been so long since you used it. It trembles in your throat like an old drum with a torn skin. But no one answers. Even the gods have gone silent. And yet, you keep working. Because that's the strangest thing. Even in this spiral, even as your mind cracks, your body keeps going. Some part of you refuses to fall. Or maybe it's not refusal. Maybe it's just habit. Your name used to mean something. It meant he who sees the sky through the trees. Now, you only look at the ground. You see a child watching you from the edge of the clearing. Not one of the guards, one of the younger porters, maybe 8. He stares at you like you're a warning or a future. You want to tell him to run, but you don't have the strength. And he wouldn't believe you anyway. You return to the pot, to the knife, to the vines. You stir again, carve again. The smoke rises, and this time you let yourself cry. Just a little, just enough to remind yourself you are still human. You whisper the phrase again, the one from your ritual. You are not just a servant, you are the offering. But today it doesn't bring comfort. Today it feels like truth, too true, because you are being burned, slowly. The sun is beginning to set. The guards begin shouting for evening counts. You move toward the line, still clutching your bowl of rubber. You walk like a man underwater, and no one notices, because here everyone walks like ghosts. Your breakdown doesn't come all at once. It happens in layers. One word forgotten, one name lost, one memory erased, until all that's left is motion and silence and the faint fading beat of a man who once had a story. There is a line in the sand now, not marked with rope, not drawn with chalk, but you feel it, like a knife across your chest. Today, you must choose, not between life and death, those choices left long ago, but between obedience and something far more dangerous. Memory, dignity, defiance. The morning is already hot. Even the sky feels too close, heavy, breathless. You walk to the trees with the others. The vines glisten, waiting. The knives are passed out. And beside the collection barrel stands Officer DeWitt. He is new, young. His boots are too clean, his skin too pale, but his eyes are sharp, and his voice, when it barks orders, has already learned the rhythm of power. You hear him mutter something as the line forms. A boy, maybe 11, approaches the scale. His rubber is short, not by much, but enough. DeWitt sneers, turns to the guards, snaps his fingers. They grab the boy, drag him behind the tent. The screams don't last long, just a minute, and then nothing. The jungle absorbs it like rain. The man behind you exhales, trembling. You recognize him. He's new to the post. He clutches his rubber close. His hands are shaking. You want to speak to him, tell him to breathe, to show no fear. But you stay silent because you know what comes next. And sure enough, it happens. The man drops his bowl. It spills across the ground, sticky, black, wasteful. The guards freeze. DeWitt turns. His face doesn't move, but his eyes gleam. He steps forward. The man falls to his knees. "I didn't mean," he begins. A boot slams into his ribs, then another, then fists. The other workers turn away. So do you, because this is how they test you. Not with orders, with ritual humiliation. One man, beaten, broken, and the rest are forced to watch, to choose silence. But this time, you don't look away. You hear yourself speak before you can stop. Enough. Just one word. Small, cracked, but louder than anything else this morning. The jungle falls quiet. The guards stop. DeWitt's head turns slowly. He studies you like a snake tasting air. "What did you say?" he asks, in a voice too calm. The man on the ground is sobbing. You take a step forward. Your hands tremble, but your voice doesn't. He made his quota yesterday. He's tired, not lazy. You don't know why you said it. It just came out, like a flame in a dry forest. The silence tightens. Even the birds seem to stop moving. DeWitt steps toward you. 1 pace, 2, 3. Now you're face to face. He's not tall, but power makes men larger than they are. He leans in. "What are you?" he whispers. His brother, his lawyer? You say nothing, because you know there's no right answer, only punishment. He raises his hand slowly, not to strike, to point. "Bring him to the stump," he tells the guards, not the man who spilled the rubber. You. The workers gasp softly, but no one moves to stop it. 2 guards grab your arms, drag you across the dirt. Your feet leave tracks, long, shallow marks behind you. You know the stump well, a flat block of wood near the boiler, where hands are taken, where silence is enforced. They push you down. Your arm is stretched forward, your hand laid flat. The knife is placed nearby, not the dull one for rubber, the sharp one, the clean one, the blade that ends questions. You don't resist, but you also don't beg. That too is a choice, and perhaps the only one left to you. DeWitt steps forward, boots clicking. He picks up the blade, and then he stops. He stares at your hand, at your face, and then strangely, at the workers behind you. All of them watching, all of them silent, but not afraid anymore. Something's changed. Maybe it's the way you stood up. Maybe it's the word you used. Maybe it's just a pause in the cruelty, a moment when the mask slips. But DeWitt hesitates, and in that hesitation, you see him, not a soldier, not a master, just a boy pretending to be steel. He clears his throat. "Let this be his final warning," he says loudly, and walks away. The guards look confused, but they obey. They drop your arms. You fall to your knees, not in surrender, in shock. You were ready to bleed, and somehow, for now, you didn't have to. The workers return to their tasks, but they glance at you now, differently. Some nod, barely. Some just meet your eyes for the first time in days. The man who dropped the rubber tries to speak. You shake your head. No thanks, you whisper. Just remember. End segment teaser. What happens next will follow you into legend or oblivion. Because this is not over. You've drawn a line. They've seen it. And now you must wait for them to cross it or to erase you entirely. A single nail cost a day's work. A knife, too. But no one's buying. Because here, nothing is bought. Everything is owed. And your debt begins the moment you wake up. This place has no currency, no coins, no paper bills, no marketplaces with bargaining or choice. There is only one economy, quotas, whips, rubber. Your sweat is not paid. Your effort is not counted. Only weight matters, only volume. Each bowl of rubber is measured not in grams, but in flesh. If it's too light, a beating. If it's late, a village burned. If it's missing, a hand taken, a family erased. They call it red rubber now, because the trees bleed it, because you bleed it, because the river carries both. Every man here has a tool. Some hold curved knives for slicing vines. Others carry long poles for scraping trunks. A few operate the black iron pots for curing rubber. The tools are never new. The handles are cracked. The blades dull. The pots crusted with last week's ash. But these aren't just tools. They are leashes. If you break one, you must work extra to replace it. If you lose one, you're fined in labor. Some men die because they dropped a blade in the river. Others die because they were accused of hiding one. There's no trade here. You don't barter for food. You are given a handful of cassava meal, maybe a boiled plantain, maybe nothing at all. Water is drawn from the same stream used by pigs, and still you drink it, because sickness is better than thirst. Surprise fact. 1 tin spoon costs a month's quota. A single cartridge for a rifle costs $5. But a human life, that's free, as long as it's yours. You once tried to trade a piece of copper wire for a palm full of salt. The man stared at you like you were mad. He whispered, "Salt is for soldiers. Copper is for telegraphs. We are for labor." You nodded and walked away. But still, there are hidden markets, tiny ones, invisible, built from eye contact, timing, and memory. A man might trade a strip of dry meat for a night without watch duty. A woman might offer a story in exchange for thread. Children steal bits of charcoal to mark safe trails through the forest. This is the true economy, not of rubber, but of survival. Once a week the supply boat comes. It brings flour, cloth, tobacco, ammo, and the clerks log every shipment like it's gold. Not because they plan to share it, because they need to track how little they can give you. You heard once that in Belgium, children are given candy for finishing chores. Here, you were given a sack with 3 dried fish heads, all rotten. That was your reward for exceeding quota. You fed it to the dogs. Even they refused. Your knife handle breaks on the 3rd day of the week. You try to tie it with fiber from the vines, but it slips. A guard notices. He says nothing, just writes your name on a slip of wood. You don't know what that means, but you've seen others get listed. They usually don't come back the next week. You think about hiding the blade, running with it, not to escape. That's impossible now, but to have something real, something that could cut, something that belongs to you. But you don't, because you're tired, because you're afraid, because you don't know what you'd even carve if given the chance. At night, you sit by the fire pit. The heat is weak, the flame is low. A man across from you holds up a hand with missing fingers. He waves them slowly, then chuckles. Each one, he says, was worth 2 pounds of rubber. You ask what that means. He leans closer. It means I owed the king less than I owe myself. Then he laughs again. But there's no joy in it. Some tools, you're told, used to be sacred. The carving knives of your elders. The fire sticks used to light the drums. The blades for shaving bark in healing rituals. Now those tools are melted down, reforged into whips, nails, bayonets. The past is not just dead. It's been weaponized. You dream of a different tool, a drum, not for warning, not for orders, not for prayers, but for calling home, for reminding yourself you once belonged to a village, not to a station. A boy sits beside you. He's barely 10. He pulls a bead from his pocket, red, shiny, chipped. He says his father gave it to him, said it was once traded for a goat. Now it's worth nothing, but the boy holds it like a jewel, because sometimes worth isn't measured in quotas. It's measured in memory. You fall asleep that night clutching your knife's handle, not because it's sharp, but because it's real. And real things are rare now. Everything else is numbers, tonnage, deadlines. But this weight in your hand is proof that you still exist. You whisper to yourself, I am not just a servant. I am the one who carves. I am the one who survives. And the jungle, for once, seems to listen. You thought this world was noble, that suffering would be clear, that villains would wear uniforms, that somewhere a trumpet would sound when justice approached. You thought there would be lines, borders, moments of glory. But here, there is no glory, only decay. You don't even remember the name of the man who died beside you last week. You buried him under the same tree where you eat. There was no ceremony, no marker, just silence. You forgot his name because you had to, because memory is a luxury. And here, survival costs silence. You used to think revolutions came with banners, songs, speeches. Here, they come with muttered prayers and hidden looks, a pause in the work, a glance across the clearing. You've seen rebellion spark like that, quiet, unsure, afraid of its own shadow. But fire doesn't last long in wet soil, and this place is soaked with it. Thematic anchor callback. You are not just a servant, you are the consequence. That line used to give you strength. Now it sounds like prophecy, because everything you see is a result, a byproduct of want, of greed, of decisions made by men who've never touched a vine. You once imagined that men like DeWitt, the officers, the enforcers, were monsters. But they're not. That would be easier. They're ordinary, trained, polite when needed, efficient when cruel. And that's what makes it worse. The myth is that evil wears horns. The reality, it wears linen and drinks tea. You're told the king never visited, that he sent explorers instead, that those explorers brought civilization. But you look around, and all you see is ash. Ash from villages, ash from schools, ash from language. One elder used to tell stories in the evenings about the river spirits, about the old hunters who tamed crocodiles with drum beats. He stopped speaking last month, not because his mouth failed, because no one remembered the songs. And he said, if a story is not heard, it is not alive. And if it's not alive, neither am I. He died the next day. You see a man writing on a ledger. He's European, young. He doesn't smile, doesn't frown. He just writes, 2,340 pounds rubber, 19 hands collected, village, Anguilla. Then he puts the pen down, wipes it on a handkerchief, drinks water, moves on. He will never know the names. He will never see the scars. But the myth? The myth will say this was progress. Someone once asked you what rubber is for. You didn't know, so you asked the clerk. He laughed. Car tires, bicycle grips, telegraph wire insulation. The world is running faster, my friend. You didn't understand. You still don't. All you know is that this jungle is dying, so the world can move. The children sometimes play near the river. Not loudly, not with joy, but with sticks, mud, stolen beads. They mimic the guards, the counting, the fear. They've learned the rules already. Even their games are quiet. And yet, you still find yourself believing the myth sometimes. You hear it in dreams, in echoes, that maybe, somewhere, someone sees this, knows this, will speak of this. But then the whip cracks, and the myth vanishes. You find a torn photograph once, dropped from an officer's coat. It shows a European street, cobblestones, women in hats, a bicycle leaning on a cafe wall. You stare at it for hours, because it looks clean, because no one in it is bleeding, because it looks real. But this world is louder, slower, hungrier. The jungle isn't just a setting, it's a witness. It's seen every hand lost, every mother silenced, every man turned into a ghost while breathing. There's a soldier who walks with a limp. They say he lost his leg not to war, but to infection. He's no hero, just another name on the ledger. But at night, you hear him speak to the trees. He tells them, one day, they'll call this a misunderstanding, a statistic, a colonial footnote. Then he curses in a dozen languages. You don't know what to believe anymore. Reality versus myth. Tear down. The myth says this was commerce. The truth says this was conquest. The myth says the jungle was tamed. The truth says the jungle remembered. You watch a clerk count coins in a hut lit by oil. Outside, a child's hand is bandaged. Inside, profits rise. You think of Belgium, of polished halls and music in gaslight rooms. You wonder if they can hear the echoes from here. You hope they can't, because if they can and choose nothing, then the myth isn't just wrong, it's evil. You once had a myth too. That work led to dignity. That discipline earned reward. That someday someone would say your name with honor. Now, you carve your name in bark. Not for pride, for memory, because memory is all that stands between man and myth. And you whisper one last time, you are not just a servant, you are the consequence. There's blood on your hands now, you're not sure whose. It came fast, hot, unexpected. Now it won't come off. It runs into the lines of your palm, and you realize, for the first time in weeks, you still have a heartbeat. The shift began at dawn. Same jungle, same barrels, same numbers. But something was off. The guards whispered. The clerks moved faster. Even DeWitt's posture had changed. Tighter, angrier. You felt it. The way animals feel the weather before it breaks. Then came the order. Double quotas. For everyone. Effective now. Someone laughed. It wasn't you. It was the man from the eastern village, tall, quiet, too tired to be afraid. He laughed like it was a joke, like it had to be. It wasn't. DeWitt struck him across the face. Once, then again, and then he ordered him to be dragged to the yard. You stood still, like always. But this time something snapped, not loudly, not with fire, but with the cold final crack of a bone breaking beneath too much weight. You followed them. Your legs moved before your mind caught up. You weren't planning rebellion. You were just walking, watching, witnessing. But that's all it takes here to become a target. They forced the man to his knees. His face was bleeding, his shirt torn, but he still laughed. even as they raised the whip, even as the guards asked who else wanted to disobey, even as DeWitt turned and stared across the workers and said, "You are not men, you are numbers." That's when it happened. You didn't shout, you stepped forward. No plan, no allies, just movement. One step, then two, and suddenly silence fell, because everyone saw it. You, not breaking, not running, just refusing. DeWitt stepped back, unsure. Then the other guards raised their rifles, but something in the air shifted. Others stepped forward too. The boy who barely speaks, the mother with bandaged hands, the elder who hasn't walked straight in a year. All of them, one by one. You said nothing, because there were no words left. Only choice, only history. DeWitt shouted. The guards shouted louder, but no one moved. Not to fight, not to beg, just to stand. And for a brief moment, longer than any you've known in this camp, the jungle held its breath. You don't remember who threw the first stone. You remember the sound. Not like thunder, more like the crack of a shell opening. Then chaos, a rifle fired, a pot overturned, screams, dust, fists, smoke. You ducked, fought, kicked, ran, everything blurred. You heard the whip strike air, heard someone choking, heard your own name, screamed once, then gone, and then silence again. You wake up hours later, in the same clearing, blood on your hands, rifle smoke still clinging to your skin. DeWitt is gone, maybe dead, maybe escaped. The guards too. The camp is half ruined, the barrel overturned, the vine still drip rubber, but no one collects it. You sit beneath a tree. The man from the eastern village sits next to you. His eye is swollen, his lip is split, but he is smiling. You ask him why. He answers, because for once, we weren't just consequences, we were cause. You don't believe it yet. You're still waiting for punishment, for the next boat, for the new guards. But for now, just now, you're free. Not completely, not safely, but briefly. Foreshadow callback from part 1. You don't know it yet, but today will echo through time. It does, not in songs, not in monuments, but in whispers, in places where history was supposed to die. You became the reason it didn't. A week later, a new officer arrives. He finds the camp burned, the names erased, the records missing. He sends a letter to the station in Leopoldville. It reads, "Rebels, fire, loss of property, locals untraceable." He folds it, seals it, forgets it. The report is archived, never printed. Belgium reads it as a line item. The world never sees it. No photo, no article, no story, but you remember. And that is what legacy truly means. You return to your village. Not many left. The forest took some. The hunger took others. But when you enter, the children stare. And one boy asks, "Are you the one who said no?" You nod, and he smiles. Not because he understands the cost, but because he needed a myth. And now he has one. Legacy line, transformation. You were never just a servant. You were the story. The moon is out, not high, not proud, just there, like you, watching the night without knowing what comes next. The fire is dying. You sit beside it, hands tucked beneath your arms, back against a broken barrel. The others have fallen asleep, some under thatch, some under sky, some with eyes open still, because trust, even now, does not return easily. You let your breathing slow. For the first time in months, no one counts you. No one checks your hands. No one weighs your bowl. You could slip into the trees, vanish, let the vines take you. But you don't. You sit, because after all that happened, stillness feels like resistance. The jungle hums, frogs, cicadas, a rustle so soft it might be the wind or memory. You lean your head back. The stars blink. The moon stays. A boy walks past, carrying an empty jug. He glances at you, then stops. He kneels beside the fire, holds his hands out to warm them. Neither of you speaks, but you hear something in his silence. Not fear, not grief. Hope, tiny, raw, but there. You offer him a strip of cloth, torn from a bag, clean enough. He nods, takes it, wraps his cut hand, says thank you with his eyes, and then he curls up beside a log, sleeping with one hand on his chest, protecting something, maybe a memory, maybe a name, maybe a future. You lie down, finally. The ground is not soft, but it is yours, tonight. Not assigned, not whipped, not ordered. You close your eyes, and your body remembers what it's like not to flinch. You dream again, but not of Europe, not of officers, not of fire. You dream of a face, not anyone you remember clearly, just kindness. You reach for it, and the forest leans in closer. You wake once, to the sound of water, not a storm, not a flood, just rain, software scattered. It beads along the leaves, drips into soil, rolls down the slope and vanishes into the night. You smile, because even the sky has a way of starting over. Your body aches, but tonight it doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like proof that you were here, that something inside you didn't die, even when everything around you tried to bury it. Final thematic line, core phrase echo. You were never just a servant. You were the story. And that story, it sleeps now, wrapped in the heat of a fire that burns quiet, held by the branches of trees that once saw pain. And tomorrow, they'll call your name again, but not with orders, not with threats, with memory. You lived it. You didn't just hear it, you breathed it. The smoke, the blood in the bark, the silence wrapped around your throat. You were there, in the camps, among the quotas, kneeling beside the barrel, sleeping beneath the weight of numbers that no longer meant anything. You lived it. But would you survive it again? Not just the hunger, not just the fear, but the way hope became a crime, the way memory was punished, the way your own name started to feel like something borrowed from someone already gone. They say time travel isn't real, that the past is past, that history is pages and maps and lectures. But here you are, still holding this story inside your chest like it has weight. Because it does. It always did. The Congo was not a war, not a battle, not a single moment you could fix with bravery or a blade. It was a system, a machine, built to make you forget your own worth and then punish you when you remembered. You thought survival would feel like triumph, but here, survival meant this: looking away when someone screamed, eating the last strip of root, even when the child beside you cried, smiling at the officer who stole your name, pretending your memories were just dreams. And still, you survived. Through rotation, through ruin, through rain that sounded like morning. You made it to the final fire. You saw the camp fall. You heard someone call you human again. But now, you're back, in your world, in your room, maybe late at night, maybe with earbuds still in, maybe with the blue light flickering against your face like a dying fire. But in your bones, the jungle stayed. You close your eyes, and you see them again. The boy with the red bead, the mother with the rope-blistered palms, the elder who forgot how to sing, the man who stood up and reminded you to do the same. Maybe you didn't expect to feel this much, but this story wasn't designed to impress you. It was designed to haunt you, to settle beneath your ribs, to whisper even when the video ends. You are still responsible for what you now know, because this didn't happen in the mythical past. It happened under a king whose portrait hangs in museums, under flags still flown, in countries that never apologized, only moved on. But this is not something to move on from. Reflection point. What does it mean to carry someone else's pain? What does it mean to keep a story alive when the world has buried it? You won't see their names in most textbooks. You won't hear their voices in most documentaries. But tonight, for 15 minutes, for 12 parts, you did. And that matters, not for history's sake, but for yours. Let me ask you gently, would you have made it through a single day of this? Not the heat, not the beatings, but the emptiness, the knowledge that the world could forget you in real time, that your suffering would be called a misunderstanding, that your life would be weighed against rubber. Would you have stood up, or would you have looked away just once to survive? There is no shame in either answer, only truth. And truth is what they were always trying to bury. You are the opposite of silence, because you listened, you remembered, you arrived at this moment still holding the story. That makes you rare. That makes you responsible. That makes you part of a long line of unnamed historians, the ones who carry memory when systems refuse to. Call back the legacy line. You don't know it yet, but this day will echo through time. It does, not because you fought, not because you won, but because you heard it, and you chose not to forget. You may never visit the Congo. You may never walk those rivers, or see the trees still bearing scarred bark. But if someone asks you now, did this really happen? You'll know what to say. You'll say, yes, and I was there. And I remember. YouTube comment prompt. Let me ask you, not just as a viewer, but as a witness, what part of this story stayed with you the longest? Would you have stepped forward or stayed silent to survive? Write it below, because your words are now part of this memory. Final thought. If you're still here, still breathing softly through this story, still staring into the dark with something heavy behind your eyes, then let me tell you something. You are not alone. You carry voices older than your own. You carry wounds that aren't scars, but reminders. And in the quiet of night, when stories sleep, you keep them awake. Sleep now, storyteller. You were never just a listener. You were the legacy. And the legacy remembers you.